The sterile white walls of the Galactic Medical Facility hummed with the quiet efficiency of 1,000 automated systems. Rayan sat on the examination table, his human frame looking small, against the oversized equipment designed for the various species that comprised the Interstellar Coalition. His fingers drummed nervously against his knee as he waited for the Xanthari medical team to arrive. "It's just a biopsy," he muttered to himself, though the words felt hollow. He'd heard the stories whispers among the human contingent aboard the research station about medical procedures that went beyond their stated purpose. Tissue samples that disappeared into classified databases. Genetic material cataloged without consent. The door hissed open and 3 Xanthari entered. They were tall, gray-skinned beings with elongated limbs and eyes that reflected light like polished obsidian. The lead physician carried a device that looked far more invasive than anything a simple biopsy would require. "Human Rayan," the physician spoke, his translator rendering the clicks and whistles into flat, emotionless standard. "We will proceed with the tissue extraction. The sample size has been ... revised." Rayan's eyes narrowed. "Revised?" The authorization was for a 5mm dermal sample. "What are you talking about?" "The Coalition Science Directorate has expressed interest in a more comprehensive study. We will require bone marrow, organ tissue, and neural samples." The physician moved closer, and the 2 assistants began activating restraint fields around the examination table. "Like hell you will." Rayan stood, his heart pounding. "I didn't consent to any of that." "Your consent is, appreciated but not required under Section 7 of the Coalition Medical Research Act. Humans are still classified as an emerging species. Your biological data is considered a resource for..." The physician never finished his sentence. The door exploded inward with a blast of superheated plasma that melted the locking mechanism into slag. Through the smoke stepped Era, all 4 feet 3 inches of her 8-year-old fury, hefting a plasma cannon that was nearly as tall as she was. Her dark eyes blazed with an intensity that made the Xanthari stumble backward. "Touch our apex," she said, her voice carrying a promise of violence that belonged to someone far older. The plasma cannon whined as it charged, casting her face in an eerie blue glow. "Child, this is a restricted medical facility." "You have no authority," the physician began. "Authority?" Era laughed, and it was not a child's laugh. It was the sound of someone who had already decided that rules meant nothing in the face of protection. "You want to talk about authority? Let me educate you on human social structures, Xeno." She took a step forward, the plasma cannon steady despite its weight. Behind her, alarms began to wail, but she ignored them. "In human culture, we have this thing called pack bonding. We form attachments to our tribe, our family, our species. And when you threaten one of ours, especially our apex, our protectors, our adults, the young don't run and hide." Her finger hovered over the trigger. "We grab the biggest weapon we can find and we end the threat." The Xanthari assistants were backing toward the wall, their gray skin paling to an almost white hue. The head physician's translator clicked frantically. "This is irrational. You are a juvenile. Your cognitive development is incomplete. You cannot possibly, you call it incomplete development. We call it learning." Era's voice dropped to something cold and deadly. "And what I've learned is that the Coalition thinks humans are soft, compliant, that we'll just let you poke and prod and take whatever you want because we're the new species on the block." Rayan moved to stand beside her, his hand gentle on her shoulder even as his own expression hardened. "Era, where did you get a plasma cannon?" "Stole it from the armory." She didn't take her eyes off the Xanthari. Figured they wouldn't miss one. "Also, there are 17 more human kids outside with various weapons. We had a meeting. Decided that if they're going to treat you like lab specimens, we'd show them what human cubs do to threats." The facility's security doors were trying to close, but the sound of more plasma fire echoed from the corridor. Young voices shouted in a dozen languages, the polyglot children of Earth's United Colony ships. All of them armed, all of them furious. "You see, the thing about humans," Era continued, "is that we're not just pack animals. We're persistence predators. Apex predators." And we protect our pack across generations. You want to know why humanity survived ice ages and supervolcanoes and wars and plagues? Because when something threatened the tribe, everyone fought. Even the smallest of us. The head physician's hands were raised now, the invasive medical device clattering to the floor. Please, we meant no permanent harm. The research is for the benefit of all species. Then ask. Get consent. Treat him like a person, not a resource. Era's cannon dipped slightly, though her stance remained ready. Because the next time you decide to revise a procedure without permission, it won't be a plasma cannon. It'll be a dozen human ships jumping into orbit with a list of grievances and no patients left. Security forces were pouring into the medical wing now, but they stopped short when they saw the Cena child defending an adult. 19 armed juveniles holding an entire facility hostage. And not a single human backing down. The coalition had made a fundamental error in understanding humanity. They had assumed that size and age determined capability. They had forgotten that apex predators were apex for a reason, and that human young learned to hunt by defending the pack. Later, after the diplomats had smoothed things over and new medical consent protocols had been hastily drafted, Rayan found Era sitting on a bench outside the facility, the plasma cannon finally relinquished to security. You know, you're probably grounded until you're 30, right? He said, sitting beside her. She grinned, looking finally like the 8-year-old she was. Worth it. Nobody touches my big brother. Rayan pulled her into a hug, and in that moment, the coalition learned a valuable lesson about humanity. They might be small. They might be young as a spacefaring species, but they were pack-bonded, fiercely protective, and absolutely terrifying when motivated. The biopsy was rescheduled. With proper consent forms and a human medical oversight committee, the Xanthari never made that mistake again.